I love you, I'm in love with you. I don't care how many times we get it, we bump heads.
That's real.
You make me mad, I'm in love with you, don't down me.
Stop scrolling for just a second, because what I'm about to tell you might completely flip the way you see things. Imagine this, one hidden detail that most people overlook could change your entire life, and it's right in front of you. The crazy part? You've probably ignored it 100 times already. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal exactly what it is, and once you know, you'll never see the world the same again. Big Boogie just shook the room with a revelation. In a moment of honesty, he hinted that Sioni's fate might not have been accidental. It could have been a sacrifice. And the finger he pointed? None other than his label boss, Yo Gotti. With that statement, Boogie signaled he's no longer willing to play the quiet, loyal artist who falls in line.
I feel right now, 100%. I don't fuck with nobody. And I'm finna make everybody regret playing with me.
Big Boogie isn't holding back anymore. He's calling out CMG and Yo Gotti directly, ready to lay everything on the table without a filter. He claimed the reason C-Money never got the recognition he deserved wasn't just bad luck, it was tied to who stood to gain the most from his death. That hit hard, because at that point, it stopped being just about music. It became a matter of power, survival, and life in Memphis. By speaking out, Boogie didn't just expose CMG's secrets, he struck a spark that could burn the entire label down. The streets are buzzing, and one thing is clear. CMG's empire is shaking, and Boogie refuses to sink with the ship. Now, fans are left wrestling with haunting questions. Was C-Money's death just another street tragedy in Memphis, or was it the most ruthless betrayal from within CMG itself? What set this whole storm in motion was a short video Boogie posted online. It barely lasted a few seconds, but the weight of it was undeniable. No smiles, no games, just pure tension as he spoke about making someone regret crossing him. He never even showed his face, and somehow, that made it all the more chilling. When Boogie spoke, the anger wasn't just in his words. You could feel it pouring through the screen, like a warning aimed straight at someone without him ever needing to say their name. This wasn't idle talk. It was a direct message to whoever had crossed the line. And the streets caught on immediately. At first, fans were confused, trying to piece together what he was really hinting at. But the puzzle started to make sense after Boogie dropped another cryptic Instagram story that shook everyone. In it, he wrote about focusing on his daughter, his growth, and his career. He talked about refusing to let anyone stand in his way, about becoming a different man by 2026, about how people rarely check on his mental state, and how he's grown distant from almost everyone. He admitted he was numb now, hardened by those who had played him in the past, and determined to grind harder because he finally sees the bigger picture of his own life. He didn't have to spell it out. No names like Yo Gotti or C-Money ever appeared, but the shade was loud and unmistakable. Fans instantly connected the dots, realizing this wasn't just random venting, it was a carefully aimed shot. Even before Boogie's posts, whispers were already circulating that C-Money's death wasn't just another Memphis shootout. The hit seemed too clean, too deliberate. So when Boogie admitted to feeling numb and detached, many took it as the final clue that blew the entire situation wide open. For context, Fast Cash C-Money lost his life in a shooting in Memphis's Fraser neighborhood. At first, it was dismissed as just another senseless tragedy in the city. But then, raw footage began to surface, and it painted a much darker picture. Once footage from the internet started circulating, everything changed. What first looked like random chaos suddenly felt orchestrated, like a carefully executed hit. That was all it took for fans to start digging. And the deeper they went, the darker the story became. Rumors spread that C-Money himself sensed something was coming weeks before his death. He didn't want to leave his family unprotected, so he pushed hard to finalize a deal with Yo Gotti's CMG, trying to secure a stable future. But then came an even more chilling twist. Insiders claimed C-Money also took out a life insurance policy to make sure his girlfriend and kids would be provided for, no matter what happened. In Memphis, where whispers about CMG swirl constantly, that move didn't surprise anyone. But what left people truly stunned was what came after his death, because that's when the story took its most unsettling turn.
With them Texas boys, them folk got hit up. Them folk got hit up everywhere you go to, like the Fed watching. You know what I'm talking about? He signed that boy right here. That boy ended up going to jail. So they watching that boy so close right now because they you know what I'm talking about? The cases.
After C-Money's death, the story only grew more heartbreaking. His girlfriend, K.A., was forced to launch a GoFundMe just to cover funeral costs and support their kids. In a Facebook tribute, she poured out her grief, writing, "Courtney taught me so much. So happy we got to love on each other. You took my heart with you for real. All I can do is play your music to hear your voice." Fans were stunned, because C Money wasn't the type to leave his family struggling. If the whispers were true, he had already taken steps to protect them. That's why things exploded online when a leaked CMG contract surfaced on Reddit, showing he was supposed to receive a payout after his death. Yet somehow, that money vanished without a trace. People expected Yo Gotti to step up, at the very least, to support the family of an artist who repped CMG and ultimately became a target because of it. But Gotti stayed silent. No tribute posts, no words of comfort, no visit to the family, and not a dime of financial help. That silence spoke louder than anything else, fueling suspicions that maybe C Money's death was more than just another tragedy. Some began asking if he had been sacrificed, his life traded for money, leaving his loved ones with nothing. What made it even wilder? C Money had officially signed with CMG just one day before he was killed. Footage shows him celebrating with friends when a car pulled up and unleashed gunfire. According to police reports, several homes were sprayed in the shooting. But somehow, C Money was the only one who ended up dead. Was that random chaos, or was the chaos simply cover for a calculated hit? Before linking with Yo Gotti, that CMG deal was supposed to be C Money's big break, the move that would finally push him to the next level. But behind closed doors, the vibe wasn't right. C Money wanted structure, meetings, business plans, rollout strategies, while Gotti treated the situation like it was casual, almost dismissive. Anyone familiar with Memphis street politics knows how deep the tension runs between Gotti's CMG camp and young Dolph's Paper Route crew. After Dolph's murder, suspicion immediately turned toward Gotti and his brother, Big Jook. Whispers spread that Jook himself might have greenlit the hit. And when Hernandez Gavon, a man tied to Jook, was arrested, those whispers turned into full-blown speculation. The streets buzzed even louder when Jook later turned up dead in a similar fashion. To some, it felt like karma catching up. To others, it was straight-up revenge. Through it all, Yo Gotti kept running CMG like a mob boss, demanding loyalty, setting the rules, and punishing anyone who dared to cross him. For years, his roster, names like Glorilla, 42 Doug, Moneybag Yo, and Black Youngster, played along with that system. But after Dolph's death, that mob boss persona stopped feeling powerful and started looking toxic. One by one, CMG's artists began slipping away, until eventually, only Glorilla was left trying to keep the label afloat. And even she couldn't hold together the empire Yo Gotti once built. The empire Yo Gotti once envisioned was slipping through his fingers. So, he adjusted, posting less, reshaping contracts, and moving through the industry like a ghost. Quietly, he began cutting loose anyone who didn't fit his new blueprint. Take Black Youngster, for example. Once upon a time, he was Yo Gotti's most trusted soldier, the loudest, most loyal voice in the CMG camp. He wasn't just an artist, he was the right hand, the street-certified presence who stood beside Gotti through thick and thin. Youngster carried himself like a warrior for the label, willing to defend its name at any cost. To many, he was the embodiment of what CMG represented: loyalty, toughness, and absolute dedication. But loyalty in the music game, especially when it collides with street politics, doesn't guarantee protection forever. Slowly, Youngster went from being an asset to being viewed as a liability. His controversies, his outspoken nature, and his street entanglements stopped being useful to Gotti's evolving vision. As CMG tried to shift its image from a gritty street label to a polished business empire, Youngster didn't fit the mold anymore. And just like that, the bond that once looked unbreakable started to fracture. That's the way Yo Gotti has always played the game: cold, calculated, and strategic. He trims the fat, reshapes the roster, and cuts off anyone who doesn't align with his bigger picture. To outsiders, it looks ruthless. To Gotti, it's just business. And this is where C Money enters the story. Fresh blood, a new face, and a talent that came with the potential to bring new energy into CMG. On the surface, it looked like a blessing for C Money. Signing to one of the biggest labels in Memphis should have been his golden ticket, the move that would take him from local recognition to national spotlight. The deal had all the markings of success: major backing, an established machine behind him, and the promise of a future brighter than anything the streets could offer. But here's the twist: the streets quickly caught on that Gotti didn't see C Money as the next superstar. He wasn't being positioned to be the crown jewel of CMG. Instead, he was being moved like a chess piece, part of a larger strategy, a pawn in a game that only Gotti truly understood. To Gotti, C Money was in the future. He was a tool, a move on the board designed to buy time, distract the public, or even provide cover while the label reshaped itself. C Money, ambitious and eager to elevate, probably didn't recognize it right away. For a young artist hungry for success, the signing itself felt like a dream come true. But dreams in this industry often come with fine print, and by the time he began to sense the reality that he was being played, it was already too late. The tragedy of C Money's story isn't just in how it ended, but in how close he stood to greatness before the rug was pulled out from under him. He thought he was stepping into opportunity, but instead, he may have walked into a trap set by the very people who were supposed to protect and guide him.
Focus, you know what I'm talking about? I talked to Govan. I did an interview with Hernandez Govan, the dude who set the whole, supposedly, you know what I'm saying, dog murder up.
For fans watching from the outside, it raised unsettling questions. How many other artists had been used in the same way? How many others were treated as pawns in Gotti's empire, pushed around the board until they no longer served a purpose? The music industry, especially in Memphis, has always been a delicate dance between talent and survival. And C Money's story became the clearest example of what happens when the two worlds collide. By the time the realization hit him, the clock was already ticking down. Moves had been made, decisions had been locked in, and there was no turning back. C Money didn't just lose his shot at stardom. He lost his life, and in the eyes of many, it wasn't random at all. It was the final, devastating proof that in Gotti's world, everyone is replaceable. The news of his death hit Big Boogie like a wrecking ball. In his first post, he poured his heart out. Coney Smith, Jesus brother. I'm hurt to my heart. My favorite rapper from day one. I'm hurt about you, boy. But Boogie's grief ran deeper than words. He collapsed under the weight of it, even canceling his own Memphis birthday bash with a chilling message. I'm straight on Memphis. Birthday bash cancelled. You guys lame forever. He tagged C Money's name, added crying emojis, and made it clear, this wasn't just mourning, it was a man pulling away from the fire before it burned him too. Insiders saw it immediately. Boogie wasn't just grieving, he was distancing himself from the storm of violence that seemed to swallow anyone too close to CMG. Fans even praised him for it, saying that decision may have saved lives. But Boogie couldn't stay silent forever. Soon, his cryptic posts started hitting the timeline, each one carrying a sharper edge than the last. Everybody gonna regret what they did and said. Watch this. Going silent is my final warning. At first, people shrugged it off like just another emotional post. But after C Money's murder, and Gotti's stone-cold silence, those words hit different. They stopped sounding like frustration and started feeling like a threat. Then came Stan G's bombshell interview on No Jumper. He flat-out warned Black Youngster and the entire CMG camp to stay alert, saying, Yo has no issue cutting people off, not just from the label, but from life itself. That line cut through the noise. With the crew still reeling from C Money's death, it landed like a punch to the gut. Suddenly, the spotlight wasn't on Yo Gotti anymore, it was on Big Boogie. He was the only one bold enough to keep dropping hints, to keep demanding answers, while everyone else stayed silent. But here's the chilling part. If Yo Gotti really did have a hand in C Money's death, then what makes Big Boogie safe? Silence, in this case, doesn't equal protection. It feels more like a ticking clock, counting down towards something inevitable. And that's exactly why the tension around Boogie's every move has grown so heavy. Fans, bloggers, and street insiders have all begun to ask the same dark question. If Yo could move like that once, what's stopping him from doing it again? After all, power in Memphis doesn't work like it does in the corporate world. In the streets, silence isn't always a shield, it can be a trap. Boogie knows that better than anyone. Every cryptic post, every carefully chosen word he drops on social media carries the weight of double meaning. Is he trying to warn the world about what's really happening behind the scenes? Or is he warning himself about what might be coming his way? That uncertainty has made the situation almost unbearable to watch. For Boogie, the line between survival and destruction feels razor thin. On the surface, he's still the entertainer, the artist making music, posting content, and keeping his career alive. But beneath that polished image is a man who looks like he's speaking in code, delivering veiled messages that only the streets know how to decode. To outsiders, it might look like random venting. To those paying closer attention, it looks more like a cry from someone walking on dangerous ground. This isn't just paranoia or gossip, it's rooted in Memphis history. For years, the city's rap scene has been built on fragile alliances, power plays, and betrayals. From Young Dolph's murder to the countless whispers about CMG's behind-the-scenes politics, one thing has always been true. Loyalty only lasts as long as it serves the one in charge. And if there's one thing Yo Gotti has proven, it's that he knows how to move like a strategist, cutting ties, eliminating threats, and reshaping his circle whenever necessary. That's what makes Boogie's situation so nerve-wracking. If he's truly seen as a liability, or even just as someone who knows too much, then his silence might not protect him at all. In fact, it could paint him as the next target. The streets understand this logic all too well, which is why every post Boogie makes gets dissected, shared, and debated. People aren't just reading his words anymore. They are reading between the lines, searching for signs of fear, defiance, or warning. Take his statement. Everybody going to regret what they did and said. Watch this. Going silent is my final warning. That's not the language of someone at peace. That's the language of someone who feels cornered, someone who knows too much but isn't ready, or maybe isn't allowed, to spill it all. It doesn't take a detective to feel the weight in those words. Fans could sense the raw tension, the desperation of a man who has lost close friends and refuses to become the next name on the list. But the danger isn't just personal. Boogie's hints and cryptic warnings have shifted the spotlight onto CMG in a way that makes the entire table. The streets are theories. Some believe Boogie is setting himself up as the truth teller, the one who might finally expose what's been happening behind closed doors. Others think he's already too deep in the game to get out clean, that he's a man trapped in a system he can't escape no matter how hard he tries. And that's the part that chills fans the most, because they've seen this movie before. Memphis has buried too many artists, too many promising voices cut down before their time. The script always feels the same. Tension builds, whispers spread, shots ring out, and the city is left grieving yet another loss. Watching Boogie post his warnings feels like watching history try to repeat itself in real time. The darkest thought lingering in people's minds is simple. If Gotti already moved in a way that left C-Money dead, why wouldn't he do it again if someone else started stepping out of line? Especially someone like Boogie, who has the platform, the fan base, and the boldness to keep stirring questions. Silence, in this sense, doesn't protect him, it isolates him. It makes him a lone figure standing in the crosshairs. And that's why every little move he makes gets magnified. A cancelled show? Fans wonder if it's because of pressure behind the scenes. A cryptic Instagram story? People debate whether it's a warning shot or a goodbye note. Even his music gets dissected for hidden meanings, as if he's leaving behind breadcrumbs in case something happens to him. At the heart of it all is a tragic cycle. Artists rising from Memphis's unforgiving streets, trying to change their lives with music, only to get swallowed by the same politics and violence they were trying to escape. C-Money's story is proof of that. And Boogie's story, still unfolding, feels like it could be headed down the same path unless something changes. The streets are locked in, watching closely. Every post, every performance, every move is being tracked like pieces on a chessboard. Because this isn't just entertainment anymore. This is survival. One thing's certain, this story is far from finished. And as long as Big Boogie keeps speaking in riddles while CMG stays silent, the tension will keep building. Whether it ends with answers, another tragedy, or the collapse of an empire, that's the part no one can predict.